Welcome back, everybody. Another episode of the Rock of Truth. Before we get started, quick word from our sponsor, Danco Transmission and Auto Care. Spring is around the corner and summertime trips too. Get your car ready to go with Danco's awesome service. At Danco, they'll shoot straight with you and let you know what's important to fix and what you can hold off on and plan for later. Save 10% when you mention the Rock of Truth. Tell them Statty sent you. What's going on, fellas? Jake and Joe, how we living?
Doing well, brother. Happy to be here.
Good, good. For those live, you can tell we got a guest tonight. Those listening, Chris Moore, 2015, uh, Cincinnati Bearcat wide receiver. Chris, what's good?
How y'all doing? Appreciate y'all having me.
Man, we appreciate you having coming on.
Of course.
We got some good things in store for tonight. The biggest thing, just with Bearcat football, we're pretty heavy on the football here with this show. Chris, we're moving on to another coach. We got another new coach coming in. When you first heard that Fickle was leaving, were you upset at all? Like, were you kind of like, damn, there goes another good one, or kind of your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel like that was exactly my reaction. I was like, dang, another good one gone to another school. So, I mean, he was building this program up to something special, and I would like to see him been here for longer than he was, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And you went through a coaching change when you were at UC as well.
Hmm.
Maybe Soppy and I talked a little bit about when Tubbs left and Fick came. He maybe talk about just how things just change when a new coach comes in. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it could be a good thing, sometimes it could be a bad thing. I feel like for me personally during my career there, it was kind of a good thing because it was just a fresh reset for me to get just new faces in there, people who see me in a different light and stuff. So sometimes it could be a good thing, and sometimes that's where people get lost. So it could be a bad thing for certain players there. So you never know. But for me, it worked out pretty well. I ain't gonna lie.
yeah. Like was there a big turnover of the roster? I mean, when Fick came in, we had about 15 to 20 dudes, probably more, just either kind of respectfully told to leave or they just up and left.
Yeah, I think it was like a similar situation for us. It's around the same number of people, and I feel like every time there's a new coach on any program, that's what happens, guys. They see it as a way to get out, start somewhere fresh for them, or like you said, that coach is trying to get scholarships so he can get his guys in the building and get his people playing. So they definitely try to clear up some spots for that.
Chris, when you were playing at UC and we are talking about that coaching transition, when Tuberville kind of came in, brought in those guys, Eddie Grand, Hinshaw, kind of that crew, when they're the ones who recruited me, and that when I committed was like a top 5 passing offense in the country. Like you guys were rolling. You had a super deep wide receiver room, a bunch of studs in there. Kind of,
Yeah.
what was it like playing an offense like that and playing with so many guys? I know a lot of people in that room played in the league for a while, and playing with so many talented guys and a really pass happy offense like that.
Yeah, I mean, as for a receiver, it was a lot of fun. I mean, you knew you were going to catch a bunch of passes given any week, and you knew you were going to score a lot of points. So I had a blast playing in that offense. Like I said, that's one of the good things when we had a fresh coaching staff. We had that new offense come in, and we kind of changed to more of a passing style than more of a pro style, and it helped my career out. And I mean, as far as that receiver room, I think my senior, we had 7 senior receivers, so it was one of the deepest receiver rooms I ever been in, and everybody on there can ball. We technically had like we didn't have ones and twos, we had rotations, so we would rotate almost every series or every other series. Just all 4 receivers were just switching in and out, so it was fun to be on a team like that.
Mm-hmm. That had been nice too, kind of having fresh legs, especially you. I mean, you've always been a deep threat, right? A speed guy, and kind of be able to rotate like that where you're not going on long drives every play. I'm sure that had to been, kind of nice.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you said, you see, my specialty was definitely deep passes running downfield. So, I mean, you're not getting that ball every single time you're running downfield.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always nice to be able to look to the sideline and know you got a guy that's just as capable to come in and the offense doesn't falter at all. It stays going, running high. So it was awesome.
Now, Chris, you we're talking about your deep ball threat ability. I remember, I can't help but as a fan remember that game against Ohio State where it felt like every 5 minutes was like Chris Moore touchdown, and I know it was like a back and forth game, but felt like Gunnar Keel to Chris Moore was just like automatic touchdown that day. Do you have like a favorite memory as a Bearcat, a game that kind of sticks out? Maybe it's that game, maybe it's a different game.
Yeah, for me, it's definitely that game. That was hands down the craziest and best probably game I've ever played of football, and I had a blast there because we were playing at Ohio State. And one of the biggest things I remember is because, like, you know, we're at Cincinnati and we have a lot of local guys. So a lot of people were going into the week. They know these guys at Ohio State and know that they were top recruits and this and that. And me, not from being from out of state, I didn't know all the guys on Ohio State like that. So I wasn't like buying into any of the hype that, oh, this guy was this star and he played at this high school and da da da. So I was going in there trying to do what I can just to ruin it for them, and I tried my best, but fell a little short at the end.
Yeah, for those who don't know, the stat line was 3 catches, 220, 221, 3 tutties. You know, he took 178 yards, 183, and another one for 60. So
yeah, it was crazy.
That's yeah.
And
that's,
one got
one got called back.
Yeah, we had 4. I had 4 of them, and one of them got called back. But
crazy
game. Yeah, it was insane.
It's crazy. And you know, Chris, people have been following you. You know, you had some time in Baltimore, spent the last couple seasons in Houston, but you know, you still come home to Cincinnati in the off season. Can you talk not only what the football program did for you, but just the University of Cincinnati did for you as a whole? And again, you're a Florida guy, and for some reason you keep coming back to Cincinnati, Ohio. So
yeah, well, one that helps when I found my wife while I was at my time at UC, and we met there, and so she's from here, so this is home for her, and I always wanted her to be close to her family, so that was easy. But also when I first ever came on my visit to Cincinnati, my senior year of high school, I know it was my junior year, I fell in love with like the area, the campus. Like I've never seen seasons changing, like leaves changing, and then like that was crazy to me, and I fell in love with it. I actually don't mind the cold, like I like the cooler weather, so it was love. And then when I came to the city, and I just fell in love with it, so I'll call Cincinnati home as long as I can because I love it here.
That was gonna be my question. You know, you're a Tampa, Florida guy, and I know they used to recruit Florida really hard. But could you kind of tell us that story of like how the hell you ended up in Cincinnati, Ohio?
Yeah, so my recruiting process was a little different because like when I was getting recruited, my mom told me like you got all these schools coming at you, you got all these offers, so you need to find a way to like make a decision that's not just like, I feel like a lot of kids just pick schools because of who they were and just because of a logo or because a coach told them something. What I did personally was I did a lot of research. So I had a spreadsheet with like every school I wanted to go to. I had all their stats, all the depth charts. And I even had stuff down to like the uniforms and whether I liked them or not, who they're sponsored by. And honestly, Cincinnati was like at the top for a lot of things. And then I came on my visit, and I believe they played Oklahoma. Yeah, it was Oklahoma in Paul Brown, and that atmosphere was insane. They threw the ball a bunch, and it was just an awesome time. So it was a no-brainer for me to just commit and come here.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You mentioned a future opponent next year. Talk about, you know, I don't know if you've looked at the schedule. I'm assuming you saw it, and we talked about it a couple episodes ago. But just seeing those logos of high caliber programs on the schedule, I mean, it's so exciting to see.
Yeah, definitely. I got excited when I saw it because one, I know during my time at Cincinnati, especially when you're a guy thinking like, oh, I want to play at the next level, a lot of times you get knocked because they say we play in this conference and we're not playing good enough opponents. Or even when it came down to like rankings, a lot of times I feel like Cincinnati had to pull teeth to even get in the playoffs a couple years ago because of they just didn't have any respect for our conference. So to see these teams in the Big 12 and those, like you said, those big logos that you know as a college is awesome to see.
100%. I had a question too. Just we're talking about ball. We're talking about Cincinnati. Obviously, it means a lot to you. It meant a lot to us. We all went to college there. You met your wife there. That's awesome. We talked about your favorite on the field football memory, against Ohio State. Like, what are some things that you miss about Clifton and just some of your favorite memories? Being on UC's campus. It doesn't have to be in football.
Yeah.
It can be, with the boys at Woody's or like whatever it is.
For sure.
What do you miss most about UC, man?
I would have to say for me personally, like we used to have, I guess we called it a football house. It was 132 Lion. Hopefully, somebody else don't live there now, and I'm dropping the address. But we used to just always have a great time there. Used to throw parties all the time, and a lot of people would show up, and it was always a great time. And then to lead into like one of my favorite things about Cincinnati is that we had that skyline down there that's open to like 3 in the morning. So after hanging out with everybody, I would go to that skyline, and it's one of the reasons why I fell in love with skyline, to be honest.
How'd you score them sending you skyline? Just showing love?
I would say I think I just kept posting stuff about it, like, because I'm literally there. Like, since I can't have it during the season, when I come back home for that first month, when I'm just relaxing and not working out, I'm eating skyline like couple times a week probably. It's kind of bad, I'm not gonna lie. I love it though.
What were your thoughts on skyline the first time you came up here from Florida?
I hated it, I ain't gonna lie. I thought this was nasty. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I went a couple more, because everybody said you gotta give a couple more chances, so I went a couple more times. And especially that one on campus, I feel like the atmosphere there, and like the fact that it's open like 3 in the morning, because I'm a late night eater, so I would go there like 1, 2 all the time, and like just go crazy with it. Number 3, the 3 cheese conies and a large Mountain Dew, and have me a blast there. I ain't gonna lie.
I had one of those Monday.
There you go. Oh, go ahead.
Has there been any progress on getting your own, on becoming a Skyline franchisee?
I ain't gonna lie. As soon as I'm done playing like ball, I'm gonna definitely look into that, because I mean, I feel like I have to. I as much money as I spend there, I should. At least I might as well invest into one.
Might as well buy one, yeah.
Yeah, but I love it, and honestly, I wish you can expand the franchise. I know they usually do it within a radius of certain miles around Ohio, and then they got the special ones in Florida. But it'd be cool if like maybe they let me do one in Houston or something. But it doesn't matter, as long as I get my skyline at the day, I'm good.
Was there ever one in Florida when like you were growing up, like as a high schooler, or?
Oh, no, the only one they have in Florida is like in Fort Lauderdale, so that's like 4 hours from me.
Yeah,
so I didn't even know that was a thing.
They got one in Tampa.
There's one in Tampa. I believe there's one in Orlando. There's one in Fort Myers as well.
They must have just opened those, because I've never heard of Skyline until I came up here. I would have been there.
Yeah, I think it's pretty new. My boy lives in Tampa. It's either Tampa or St. Pete. It might be in the airport, honestly, but it's
That's crazy.
Skyline down there.
Oh man, well, I need to step my game up. Next time I'm in Florida, I'm getting some. Now, is it the same? Has somebody had it from the Florida one and can vouch for it being? I would assume it would be.
My buddy's been to both, and he said it's good.
Okay, that's all I need to hear.
I mean, they got to send them the cans, right?
Yeah,
you got to send it to them. Do you? Was it local guys that took you on your first time? Do you remember your first time?
I'm trying to remember my first time. I think it was just people, like, I think a bunch of people in our dorms at the time, like, because that's when we used to be in the Turner dorms, and it was a mix of just academic students and athletes. I think we all just went together one time, and they had me try it, and I was like, it's all right. I wasn't on the hype at first, but then I'll tell you, I went a couple more times. Oh yeah.
Oh, they're all over the map.
See, I think when I was growing up, it was only in Fort Lauderdale. That's crazy.
Got them on both coasts and in Orlando.
Yeah, I'm definitely. Could I go to Orlando? I'm about to go back there now.
You're about to tell your wife we're moving back to Florida.
Right?
Skyline, that's all I need.
That might have been the only thing holding me back. Skyline, I'm good.
Man, I'm glad you love it, because I love it. I just never can get enough of it. Transition gears here. You've been in the league 8 years, eight seasons.
Going on the 8th one, yep.
Going into 8. And you guys, we've always had talent at Cincy, and guys that just really work their ass off to make it. And kind of be more role player guys, or they start on special teams. But you look around now, and obviously rookie of the year with Ahmad, but he's just over the years seeing more and more guys from Cincy go, and even yourself included, you've been grinding, you worked your way up through the roster. Just how cool is it to see so many Bearcats just starting and really making impacts on Sundays?
I mean, it's awesome because, like you said, when I first was going in there, we really had only a few names. We had the Kelsey brothers, and I don't want to miss out people, but definitely some others. But for sure, like those are the two when you heard about NFL players, that's who they talked about. And then like just to see where I want to give credit to Coach Fickle because I feel like he got that talent in the building and sent them to the NFL ready to play. Because obviously Sauce he's a beast. He's one of a kind, and to get drafted that high and then make an immediate impact like that is crazy. And I think Ritter's going to be a good quarterback as long as he keep getting opportunities to play. And I just think the sky's the limit for Cincinnati now. As long as we just continue to move the program forward, I think we'll have more and more NFL players. So it's awesome to see them because I like to trade jerseys, and now I got a few Bearcats in the house, and it's awesome.
Yeah, that was going to lead to my next question. That's my favorite thing to ask when we have NFL guys. Like, what's been your coolest jersey swap, or what's your favorite jersey you have?
It's definitely Travis Kelce because I played him a few times, but I got to play with him at UC2, so I actually knew him. It wasn't just like a alumni thing, but it was definitely cool to see him because he's one of the greatest Bearcats to do it, and just to have his jersey, I have it on the wall in my house, and it's just awesome.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris, you're going on year 8, and for people that don't realize how impressive that is, I mean the average NFL career length is 3 years, right?
Yeah.
And you blow that out of the water. You're going on year 8, and hopefully you continue to keep playing. In the beginning of your career, you're still are like a really great special teams player, and going to the Ravens. John Harbaugh is known as one of the best special team coaches there is. Like, can you just talk about a little bit? Like, obviously, you want to go in the league, you want to score 20 touchdowns and make all the touchdowns. And we can talk a little bit about this past year and kind of how you had your best year receiving wise, and I'll ask you about that. But I want to know about like special teams that's been so important to you in your career. Like, one, learning from Harbaugh, do you feel like that helped you? And then 2, what has being like a special teams player and being a really good one like meant for you in your career?
Yeah, well, it's been great, first of all, because I didn't think, because growing up playing football, nobody wants to play special teams. You think it's like that's what guys who aren't playing do, but once you get to NFL, it's just as important, and honestly, it's so much fun. Like I had a blast playing special teams, and I still love it to this day. Like I have such a high respect for that part of the game because it's helped me, like you said, stay in the league as long as I have. And honestly, I think going to Baltimore as my first team is what allowed me to stay in the league as long as I've had. Because one, they teach you how to play NFL football there. They teach you how to be a pro. And Coach Harbaugh really, like you said, he's a special teams guy. He's one of the few guys in the league that really puts an emphasis on special teams. Like we don't play about special teams to practice there. And I also had just great special teams coaches. So like when I first showed up, my assistant special teams coach was the head special teams coach there now, Chris Horton. He showed me, because we were practicing gunner. He was showing me gunner's reps of Matthew Slater in New England, who's like a Pro Bowl special team every year. And he's like, man, this guy has been in the league for X amount of years, but forever, just doing special teams. He's a receiver, but I don't even know. He doesn't have very many catches in his career. It's like an insane number compared to how long he's played. He's like, if you want to make a career, a profession out of this, and really want to stay in this league for a long time to get your opportunities, this is all you got to do. And once he told me that, my mind was sold. Like, I'm going to give my all to be on the field playing special teams because, like, I wanted this to be my career because I loved it so much. And then it just unfolded from there for me, making a bunch of plays and just having a blast at it.
Was that something, and I honestly don't really remember if that was something that, like, were you playing a lot of special teams in college or no?
No, like I said, I did not want to play. I wanted to play gunner a little bit in college, but that it was a different formation. It's a different formation in college. It's not the real gunners spread out. So we really didn't do that with receivers. And I played a little returner, but other than that, I didn't play special teams. I was playing receiver, and they weren't like I said, they don't really play guys special teams that much that are starting.
Yeah,
at Bama or something.
which is really interesting because that's kind of what it's been like for a lot of people over the years. But that's one thing that Fickle was adamant on is every day our best players are going to play special teams, and you would see like all of our starters would start on punt return, kickoff, like, which was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
That was what his thing was. That's what his philosophy was, and I think that's probably helped with how many guys he's put into the league. All those guys can play special teams, and I'm sure that's probably really helped the program for that.
Definitely. I mean, it's an important part of the game. And I feel like when you're a younger player coming in, it helps you learn like the speed of the game. You learn how to play football because special teams is like the most, I would say, like there's a lot of technique, but there's a lot of athleticism that comes. Like it's football players out there. Like
Yeah.
it's backyard, almost like backyard football with a little bit of boundaries to it.
Mhm.
But like that's where you want to learn how to play football is on special teams. And like you said, if you can do that, you go to the NFL and you're one of those guys that's like right on the bubble of the roster, and you can play special teams, and you show that you're willing to do this. You're gonna make a roster most of the time. So.
Mhm.
Well, that's where I was going to ask if you've seen guys like Jerome Ford, who just last season was working only on special teams, or Tyler Scott and Trey Tucker as they get ready to enter the league, and they were gunners specifically for Luke Fickle's off our special teams. Like, I didn't know if you'd paid any attention to what they had been doing.
I've seen Jerome. I mean, I've been paying attention to Jerome Ford in the league because we played him this year and we were scouting him. That he's gonna be a great returner, and that's like I said, he got two great running backs ahead of him right now, and he's just buying his time to continue to show like coaches there like I can play running back, but I can play special teams. So whenever you need me, and I can do it all. So I feel like that's how he's gonna always be able to stay as long as he wants to play and as long as he puts in the work, he'll be able to do it. And for those guys that are coming out that they already have experience knowing how to play gunner and like show a willingness to play special teams, that's just a foot up for them. So I think as long as they go out there and show a willingness to do it, they'll be able to stay.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then transitioning to pro special teams, but your career as a receiver this past season, you had career highs in targets, receptions, and yards. I was just curious. You guys didn't have the best year this year, but for you, a career year. What do you attribute that to?
A couple of things, but first I would say just the opportunity. Like I was a number 3 receiver in the slot, and just getting the opportunity to go out there and play and show what I can do. And I think another thing is just I had a great receiver coach in Ben McDaniels. He taught me a lot of things that technique wise, and I bought into what he was teaching, and it helped me out there on the field react and just play a lot better. So I think those things definitely helped me.
You talk about your whiteout coach, Chris. Who's been a guy in the whiteout room whenever in your career that has just been the coldest route runner, just the all around just nastiest whiteout you've been with? I know we picked your brain a little bit about Cooks last offseason.
Yeah. Dang, that's hard because I play with when I was in Baltimore too, especially I played with so many like veteran great receivers. It was insane. As far as like route running and just technique, I would say probably Steve Smith, because it's like between Steve Smith and Brandon Cooks, they both took those details of running routes like very serious, and they didn't play about it. Like they always put in the extra work for it, and those are some of the two best players I've ever seen. But like I played with Michael Crabtree, Mike Wallace, like just Jeremy Macklin. I played with so many dudes, and I would say a lot of those dudes just have unbelievable skill too. Like Mike Wallace, for example, is just faster than any his first 2 steps is faster than most people I've ever seen. Crabtree was just a basketball player playing receiver and his hands were the size of my head. Like it was insane. So I mean, if I'm just going off of technique, probably in route running, it's between Brandon and Steve Smith, those two dudes.
Did Steve Smith have a nickname for you?
No, he didn't have a nickname for me. I was too young, I think. I think it's because he was on his way out. He was chill with me, but I still see him from time to time. He's funny. That's a dude on when the game time, or not even game time, when he's on that football field, he's a different person, and he scared me a couple times out there.
Oh, I bet.
I met him at the pro day at UC's pro day last year,
Mm-hmm.
and he scared me too. He's an
he's
intimidating presence.
He is, but he's a great. That thing is like he's like that, but he's a great dude, like amazing
Well,
person. Like if you're a rookie, like if you were a rookie and you were a receiver and you were trying to really learn the game, he'll take you under his wing and do anything. But at the same time, on that field, he's a different man.
Did he ever tell you his nickname for Pike?
No.
His nickname for Tony was Soda Pop.
Why was it soda? You say why?
Yeah, because like a can of soda pop, you would shake it up and then you would open it and it would spray for like 15 seconds and then it would fizzle out. And that was Tony's arm.
Oh my. That sounds like him, man.
He said that to Tony live on the air last year going into the Super Bowl. Like Tony had him on because he's an NFL Network guy now.
Yeah.
And Tony's co-host was like, "What was Tony's nickname?" He's like, "Soda Pop," because he'd shake him up and he'd spray everywhere for 15 seconds, and then he would be flat.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm not surprised by that at all, about him saying that.
So I used that as an icebreaker when I met him.
Yeah.
And then because I work at the radio station now with Tony, and that got us off on a good foot. We were able to start laughing and talking about some of the UC guys. But look, man, that's the one dude I think in NFL history. Like, if you ain't ready to square up, don't square up because he's going to end your day.
Yeah, I've seen it. That man, he's a menace. When I'm trying to think, my second year was his last year playing, and I think that was like how many years did he play? It was
a lot.
Yeah, he's in the teens. This man's almost 40, and he's still playing at a level that is better than most young guys. Like jumping over dudes, stiff arming them to the ground, like just insane things. I was always in shock by seeing him play.
I think it's Bomani Jones that always said, like, if there's a dude that size that made it to the NFL, that is the last person you want to mess with.
Facts. And he played like that.
Yeah.
He's a
Soda Pop.
Sure.
If you ever see Tony, call him Soda Pop.
Hey, I'll definitely, because that's hilarious.
Speaking of Steve Smith, just like an absolute legend. I know when the three of us were growing up, like that's kind of one of the guys, like NFL, best player in the league. You being a receiver, and maybe it was Steve Smith. Like, was there a guy that you looked up to and like, watched highlights of, and like, I'm trying to emulate my game after them? Whether it was, growing up or when you were in college or even early in your career, was there a guy, whether it was Steve Smith or somebody else in the league?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely watched Steve Smith, but growing up for me, I'm trying to think. I had different receivers through different phases, but one of them, and I was lucky to play with him, was Michael Crabtree. Because like when he played at Texas Tech, the way he used to just dunk on people, that's all I ever wanted to do as a receiver. Just go up top, and like at my high school, that was all we did, was just throw jump balls to receivers. So I used to watch him all the time, and so to play with him and see how cool of a dude he is, and to see how his game is, it was awesome. So that was like almost like full circle dream come true type thing when you're a little kid watching them, and then now you're playing with them. It's crazy.
You had a few dunks this year. You had a couple.
A couple of them. Yeah, like I'll tell you, that's growing up. That was all I like. When people say, "Oh, you got moss," like that's all I ever wanted to do. We call it dunk now, whatever. It's the best thing to do. Just throw the ball up high, and just DB usually ain't turn around fast enough to go up there and get it, and you just take it off the top of their head. It's one of the best feelings ever.
Did you get one of these?
Nah, I didn't do that. I ain't gonna. I'm pretty like chill on the field most of the time. You got to do a lot to turn me up.
Yeah, that wasn't. Well, all right, so you prefer that over like a nice like back shoulder?
Yes, I want the ball like on a line drive, like just above where he could jump, and I'm gonna pluck out the sky.
Yeah. That's a lot easier throw. I used to play quarterback. It's a lot easier throw than putting it like boom, back shoulder, goal line fade. I feel like that's one of the hardest routes to throw. Is you have to have like the guys that are so good at it, like Rodgers and Devontae Adams. Like it's just all about like timing and feel and reps. Whether you're gonna go over the top with it, whether you're gonna go back shoulder, like
Facts.
such a difficult, play. It looks easy to the common
Yeah.
fan. It's 5 yards, just throw it up there, but there's so much that goes into it, and it's like, how fast it goes by.
Yeah, that's one of the hardest, like you said, one of the hardest ones to. You can't just go in a game and think you're gonna throw that and it's gonna be perfect. Like
No.
like you said, it
Much
takes
that goes into it.
tons of reps and tons of time. So, yeah, and Rodgers and Adams were the best I've ever seen do that. Like,
Yeah.
they looked like they called it in the huddle like that, and I'm pretty sure they didn't, but it looked like it. How good they did it.
Right.
Yeah.
You talking just about catches. What is the feeling of scoring a touchdown in the NFL?
It's crazy. Like, I don't really have words to describe it because I don't know. It's something you worked for. I feel like you always think about it growing up, always dream about it, and it's awesome. It's because it's not easy to do. Like, I know a lot of dudes make it seem like it's easy and it looks easy on TV, but you got to work for them touchdowns. And the NFL and especially teams, they cherish every point they get. So when you get in there and the way the whole team feels and the momentum it gives them it's incredible.
We talked about your favorite moment at UC, on the football field. Do you have a favorite moment or a favorite play or a favorite game so far through your NFL career that you can kind of point to?
That's a tough one. I think it's either, I would say there's two different games, and that for two different reasons. One, my game last year versus the Patriots, I had a really great game. I forget, I had 100-something yards and a touchdown. And the reason why that game was so special, was like so up there for me and important, is because that year I got cut after training camp. That's the first time I ever got cut from a team. So that was new for me. I didn't know how, like, just dealing with that situation was a lot for me. And I was on the practice squad and they had to move me up for that game, and I balled out. And then the next week they pretty much activated me. So that was special in itself. And then I would say this year we played the Cowboys and I had another like 100-something yard game. I didn't score a touchdown. I was close and they said I didn't, but just being able to play outside, and I had to step up in the role as being like the number one receiver because we had receivers hurt. And so I feel like for me, like for mentally, just to prove to myself like, oh, I belong here and like I can play receiver as a number one if I needed to, because like sometimes, you get in a situation where you might doubt yourself because of where people place you in a depth chart, where you've been at other situations on teams. But that was like in my head solidified, like, oh, I belong here. Like I can play receiver here easy. Well, not easy, but I could play receiver here and I deserve to be here. So I would say those two games.
I'm pretty sure I picked you up in fantasy after that Cowboy win this week. I'm not gonna lie. I had a pretty deep team, so I don't know if I started you, but I'm pretty damn sure I picked you up in fantasy after that.
Hey,
I mean, you dropped like a 21 piece.
Yeah,
I
solid.
did. Yeah, because I had a bunch of. I think I had like 10 catches. Like it was for me. Like I never even had that. I never had 10 catches in like a game in football ever until then. Like not high school, college, probably not even little league. So that was insane for me to do it at that level. Yeah, it was awesome.
That's wild.
Chris, I got a quick question for you. Correct me if I'm wrong, you played in the Big East as a freshman, correct? Before moving to the American?
Yeah, I think I played 2 years in the Big East before we moved. Yes.
So my question, with the Bearcats moving to the Big 12, like, can you speak a little bit on maybe the differences you saw, where there might be differences, similarities? Like, what should Bearcat fans and players expect, I guess, moving into a Power 5 conference with knowing maybe not what it looks like to go from like a mid-major conference to a power conference, but you got to see the difference between a power conference and a mid-major conference. So I kind of want you to speak on that if you could.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest difference is just that every week there's no gimmies. I know you don't like. I'm not trying to disrespect the other teams, but there's weeks where I expected the Bearcats to win regardless, like just because of how the conference we were in and who we were playing. And I don't think when you get to that Power 5 conference and when you're playing teams every week that are like, dang, this team is this good. Their record might not show it, but that's because they're playing other dogs in the conference. So I think that's the biggest thing that you're gonna see a difference in, is like you're playing great teams every single week. The competition is high. It's not gonna be any cakewalks, or just you're expected to win every week.
What was that kind of like? The past couple of years, just kind of watching from afar. Obviously, your alma mater and you're keeping tabs on it, but
Yeah.
we were really fucking good for the past couple of years, and like playing in the college football playoff, playing in the Peach Bowl. Like, how proud did that make you? And like, what was it like, kind of following that along, being in the locker room, like, hey, you're watching the Bearcats and everybody else. What was that kind of like?
I mean, it was amazing, especially like you said in the locker room. I was talking crazy in there because like I'm probably most of the time. I had a couple Bearcats a couple of times for like a year in Houston, a year in Baltimore. For the most part, I was the only Bearcat in the locker room. Mm-hmm. So for me to talk, just have bragging rights and talk crazy to all these other people was a great feeling. And I mean, just to see the program, that's all. Like, no matter where you're at, you want to see your program get better. You want to see better things. You want to come back and be able to see like updates and upgrades and shoot. You want to see players playing next year against you. It's just it was awesome to see. I was excited. I was pumped.
Mm-hmm. I bet.
Chris, before we finish up, excuse me. You're a pretty talented guy, pretty athletic dude, right? Obviously, you've kind of picked up a hobby in the game of golf. I'd like to say maybe recently. Did you get a letter in the mail either yesterday or today from the Bearcat office about Letterman's weekend?
I haven't got a letter in the mail, but somebody has asked me to join their team.
Right. April 14th and 15th.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that. I gotta handle some babysitting duties, but I think I'm gonna be out there. I'm trying to, because I believe, is it at Pebble Creek again?
Yep.
Where's it at? Yeah, I played there before. That's a fun course.
It's a nice course.
Yeah, and just to be out there with some alumni and hang out for a day is gonna be awesome too. So I should be out there.
Maybe Sapi will fly back up for it. I don't know.
I would love to, but I'm actually going to my first ever music festival that same weekend, so that's unfortunate timing.
Wow.
Out on Fort Lauderdale Beach.
Oh man,
Yuga Fest. Yeah,
that's gonna be a good time.
Awesome.
Looking forward to that. That's shitty. That's in the weekend, isn't it? That was news to me, Statty. I didn't know that got sent out. They must not have my new address yet.
Dude, it's nice. They got the CPAW with the Big 12 logo right next to it.
Let me see.
Oh, is it an email? Maybe I got the email. I gotta check.
I got a picture sent of it. It's not the actual picture.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I got it. They must not have my address either. Hold on, I'm gonna update that. But yeah, I should be out there, barring anything crazy. I'll be out there. I'm looking forward to it.
And your what's that brand that's got you getting right in the clothes?
Oh, Par Hopper.
Hopper.
I got my own polo design with them, with all my little things I love in life, like Mountain Dew, golf, football. What else is on there? Video games. I play video games, so it's a bunch of different things that represent stuff I like to do outside of football. So it's awesome.
That is awesome. What's your favorite video game?
It's hard to say, because like I'm the type of dude, I'll literally play any, because I built my PC, so I have a Steam, and like I'll find games that probably shouldn't even know they exist and just play them. I just like to try games out and see what they're about. But right now I'm deep into Call of Duty, trying to get all my guns platinum and stuff, just doing stuff like that. Off season grind.
When you're playing, who are you playing with? Are you playing with UC guys in the league, guys, high school buddies? Who are you playing with typically?
When I play Call of Duty?
Yeah.
Man, whoever invites me. If you're on there and you invite me, I'll play with you, because I just be out here playing. But most, like I said, when I play those just deep dives into Steam or Game Pass or something, like I'm usually playing those by myself, because it's like single player games. I like a lot of story games and like games like that usually, because I feel like they take their time and put some details into it.
The free world ones.
Yeah, like just stuff like that. I can appreciate those. Call of Duty is just like competitive nature when I do that.
Did you play the game The Last of Us? Maybe.
No, because I think that just came out on PC this season when I was in the season. I don't play video games usually during the football season.
Okay.
So that's one though that's on my list that I gotta get done, because then they come out with a show for that.
Well, that's the thing. I'm watching the show, and I didn't even know it was a video game. So everybody was like on my ass about it, and apparently it's a great video game. But the show is unbelievable. If you guys, any of you guys have HBO, I highly recommend it.
The Last of Us.
The
Yeah.
Last of Us.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to play that because it was only on PlayStation for a while, and I'm not a PlayStation guy.
Can't confirm. The show's incredible.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna check it out.
good.
Yeah, boys, we got anything else for him?
Yeah, I feel like I'm firing.
You're rolling. Keep it
Zach,
Yeah,
rolling.
go ahead.
I had one last one for you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're a free agent. Is that?
I will be. I mean, the way it works is like technically in March you're a free agent, but they can
Mhm.
like whenever that period is, you can sign back to the team, and
Yeah.
so you never know how that's gonna work. But
My question was whether it's the Texans or another team, like, what ideally do you feel like going to year 8 is like the best situation for you? Like where do you want to end up? You don't need to give me, a team or a location, but what kind of situation do you think is the best for Chris Moore going into, year 8?
yeah, honestly, to be honest, I'll tell you, me and my wife, because that's also a big important factor when now that I'm choosing teams, my family. But we loved Houston. I loved the organization there. We had like the support, like there's things like the support staff, like nutrition, the weight room, like stuff like that like people wouldn't think is important. Like that stuff is really important to me. And Houston had some of the top of the line, just great people in that building. And like besides us not having a great season, like if we had a great season, free agents would be flocking there because how one the city and just how great of an organization it is. So I'm hoping to be back there because I mean I love it there. But like I said, to answer really your question, it's really about hopefully like somebody that's gonna give me a chance to continue to play receiver, uh, and special teams. 'Cause I love playing both, and then it's just the right fit for my family, whether it be back in Houston or somewhere closer to home. Either one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna rip one more. Favorite. I'm a stadium. I've said it before on the show to multiple guests. I'm a stadium facilities guy.
Yeah.
What's the coolest stadium you've been to, and what's one of your favorite ones you love to play at?
The coolest stadium I've been to, I would say, to be honest, Vegas Stadium. That place, that new stadium is insane. Cause one, it's a dome, beautiful. It got a grass field, which is nice to play on. But one of the coolest thing was when we were leaving after the game was over, we were leaving, heading back to the buses. They have a club in the end zone and it was still going. Like they weren't done. They were still in there partying. Like you could see the lights and hear the music and see people in there. So that was just cool to see. But my favorite place to play was actually Pittsburgh because I was spent those 5 years in Baltimore, and we always would play them twice a year, but once there, and just the atmosphere of their fans there, and like how their seats are pretty close to the end zone and the sideline, so the atmosphere there is crazy. And in the fourth quarter, at the start of the fourth quarter, sometime during the fourth quarter when the game is like close, they'll play what's the name of that song?
Renegade.
Yeah, they play Renegade and they show a highlight tape of them just destroying your team and they all waving the terror. And that's one of the coolest things. At first like it was intimidating, but once you play there a lot, like you start loving it. Like it becomes your own thing. So I used to love it. And then like especially when I was in Baltimore, I was a kick returner, so I would be back at kick return a lot of times when they would start playing. It would get me pumped. So that place was definitely one of the funnest places I played at.
Speaking of the AFC North, I'm from Cleveland. Had season tickets to the Browns my entire life. I'm diehard. I've lived a hard life. How shitty is it playing on the lake there? In January, there's a lake effect snow, there's 30 miles per hour wind. People do not realize how fucking cold it gets in that stadium.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Man, it's like you said, it's brick, and they got a grass field too. But like that field is rock solid. That's a different place to play. And honestly, the AFC North in general is one of the craziest divisions because it's all northern teams outside, like hard hitting. Like I definitely think it's one of the hardest hitting divisions in the NFL for sure. Just tough. It's like I feel like it's real rivalries going on in there. So I mean, I loved it. It's one of the funnest divisions to play in.
Yeah, it's good football.
Yeah. Have you been back to Nip for a game since
I've been in league? I have been.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. It's been a few years because it's hard. I'm usually in season. I think this year I'll be able to make a game because we have a home game, I believe, when we have our little preseason bye week. So if I can, I will. But I've been to a few basketball games too. That's usually when I can make those and seen the new arenas. I like what they're doing. We're trying to be.
Trying.
We're heading in the right direction, man. That's what I'm excited about.
Trying.
Yeah.
Awesome, Chris. Fellas, you got anything else? Joe, you got another one up your sleeve? You good?
I'm good. Thanks for coming
Right.
on, Chris. We appreciate it.
Oh man, you're
Appreciate
a
having us. A
legend,
great
dude.
time.
You're a beast.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Just thank you so much. Have a great rest of your night, man.
Y'all too, man. I appreciate it.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
do we
So yeah, that's about the show tonight. Next week, we'll pick it back up. We don't need to go too deep into what happened at the East Carolina University last night. I don't want Joe Met to say something he wished he didn't say.
Let's just talk about basketball next week. We'll end on a positive note with Chris Moore. What a great interview. You guys both asked some great questions, so good work. Hopefully I bet the fans really enjoyed that. So thanks for everyone who listened.
We'll see you next week on The Rock. Go
Let's go
Bearcats.
Bearcats.